Have you ever heard of a man who wrote 450 books, with 240 of them surviving to this day? A man who was a doctor, a philosopher, an astronomer, and a poet, all before the age of 40? This isn't a character from a fantasy novel. This is the true story of Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna, one of the most brilliant minds in all of history. His life was a whirlwind of genius, adventure, and relentless pursuit of knowledge. So, buckle up, because we're about to journey back 1,000 years to uncover the incredible life of the man who shaped modern medicine and philosophy. Our story begins in the year 980 in a small village near Bakira, which is in modern-day Uzbekistan. From the very beginning, it was clear that Abu Ali al-Hussein ibn Ibn Sina was no ordinary child. His father, a respected scholar, noticed his son's insatiable curiosity and provided him with the best tutors. And what did young Ibn Sina do with this opportunity? He absolutely devoured it. By the age of 10, he had already memorized the entire Quran. By 16, he wasn't just studying medicine. He was teaching it to other physicians. He found the subject so easy, he said, that he soon mastered it and began treating patients, discovering new methods of treatment along the way. Think about that for a second. While most of us were struggling with algebra, a teenage Ibn Sina was innovating in the medical field. But medicine wasn't his only passion. He was deeply fascinated by metaphysics, the branch of philosophy that deals with the fundamental nature of reality. He famously read Aristotle's Metaphysics 40 times, memorizing it completely, but he still couldn't grasp its true meaning. It was a frustrating puzzle for his brilliant mind. Then, one day, while browsing a book market, he stumbled upon a small, inexpensive book by the philosopher Al-Farabi, which was a commentary on Aristotle's work. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. He was so overjoyed that he rushed home and gave alms to the poor in gratitude. This moment highlights a key part of Ibn Sina's character, his relentless persistence. He didn't just give up when faced with a challenge. He obsessed over it until he found a solution. This drive would define his entire life. His medical skills quickly made him famous. At just 18 years old, he was summoned to treat the Samanid ruler Nuh ibn Mansur, who was suffering from a mysterious illness that had stumped all the court physicians. Ibn Sina successfully cured the emir, and as a reward, he wasn't given gold or land. He asked for something far more valuable: access to the royal Samanid library. Imagine a paradise for a book lover. This library was one of the greatest of its time, filled with rare manuscripts on every subject imaginable. For Ibn Sina, it was like unlocking a treasure chest of knowledge. He spent countless hours in that library, reading, studying, and absorbing information at a phenomenal rate. He later wrote that he read every book in that library, and if any were ever lost, the knowledge would still be safe in his memory. It was during this period that he truly laid the foundation for his future masterpieces. However, the world around Ibn Sina was far from stable. Political turmoil was brewing, and the Samanid dynasty eventually fell. At the age of 22, Ibn Sina was forced to leave his home and begin a life of wandering. For the next 2 decades, he traveled from city to city across Persia, never staying in one place for too long. He served as a physician and advisor to various rulers, but his life was often fraught with danger. He was a courtier, a political administrator, and at times, even a political prisoner. Despite this chaotic lifestyle, His intellectual output was nothing short of miraculous. How did he manage to write so much? His routine was legendary. He would spend his days attending to his duties at court and treating patients. Then, late at night, he would gather his students. They would read from his great works, he would dictate new chapters, and they would all engage in deep philosophical discussions, often until the early hours of the morning. It's said he rarely slept for more than a few hours a night, driven by an unquenchable thirst for knowledge and a desire to share it. During this tumultuous period, he composed his two most famous works. The first was the Canon of Medicine, or Al-Canon fi al-Tib in Arabic. This wasn't just a book. It was a monumental 5-volume encyclopedia that systematically organized all medical knowledge of the time, from ancient Greek and Roman sources to his own groundbreaking observations. The canon was revolutionary. It discussed diseases and their causes, anatomy, pharmacology, and surgical procedures. It was the first book to identify the contagious nature of infectious diseases and to introduce the concept of quarantine to limit their spread. It described 760 different drugs and their uses. It was so comprehensive, so logically organized, and so practical that it became the standard medical textbook in the Islamic world and Europe for over 600 years. For centuries, if you were studying to be a doctor anywhere from Spain to Persia, you were studying Ibn Sina. His other magnum opus was the Book of Healing, or Kitab al-Shifa. The title is a bit misleading in English, as it's not primarily about medicine. In this context, healing refers to healing the soul or the mind from ignorance. This was a massive philosophical and scientific encyclopedia covering logic, natural sciences, psychology, geometry, astronomy, and metaphysics. It was his attempt to synthesize the philosophy of Aristotle with his own Islamic theology, creating a complete and logical system for understanding the universe. In his Book of Healing, he made significant contributions to psychology, exploring concepts like the 5 external senses and the 7 internal senses, including common sense, imagination, and memory. He proposed a theory of the soul and its connection to the body that would influence European thinkers for centuries to come. He also developed the famous floating man thought experiment, long before Descartes, I think. Therefore I am. He asked his readers to imagine a person created in mid-air, blindfolded and with limbs separated, unable to feel anything, not even the air itself. Would this person be aware of their own existence? Ibn Sina argued yes. They would be aware of their own self, their own consciousness, proving that the soul is a substance independent of the body. Ibn Sina's life, however, was not all quiet contemplation and writing. He held high political office, serving as vizier, or chief minister, in Hamadan. But politics was a dangerous game. His rivals at court grew jealous of his influence. The army mutinied against him, looted his house, and demanded his execution. The ruler, under pressure, imprisoned him. Yet even in prison, Ibn Sina did not stop working. He continued to write, composing several treatises from his cell. Eventually, he escaped, disguised as a Sufi mystic, and fled to Isfahan, where he finally found a stable and supportive patron in the ruler Ala al-Dawla. The last 14 years of his life in Isfahan were his most productive. He enjoyed the respect of the court, the company of his students, and the peace he needed to complete his great works. He revised the Canon of Medicine and finished the Book of Healing. He built an observatory to study astronomy and made several corrections to the astronomical models of his time. It was a golden age for him. But his intense lifestyle and constant work eventually took their toll. While accompanying his patron on a military campaign, he fell gravely ill with colic. He tried to treat himself with his own remedies, but his health continued to fail. According to the stories, when he realized his end was near, he gave away his possessions to the poor, freed his slaves, and spent his final days listening to readings of the Quran. Ibn Sina died in the year 1037 at the age of 57. He was buried in Hamadan, Iran, where his mausoleum stands today as a monument to his incredible legacy. So why is Ibn Sina so important? Why do we still talk about him 1,000 years later? It's because his work built a bridge. He took the knowledge of the ancient Greeks, combined it with the discoveries of the Islamic Golden Age, and organized it into a rational, systematic framework that became the foundation for the European Renaissance. His writings were translated into Latin and spread throughout Europe, reintroducing classical philosophy and scientific medicine to a continent that was just emerging from the Dark Ages. He was more than just a physician or a philosopher. He was a polymath in the truest sense of the word, a universal genius whose intellect spanned nearly every field of human knowledge. His life story is a powerful testament to the human capacity for learning, resilience in the face of adversity, and the timeless quest to understand our world and ourselves. The next time you visit a doctor or take a medicine, remember the long line of history that made it possible, and remember Ibn Sina, the Prince of Physicians, whose brilliant mind continues to echo through the halls of science and philosophy. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next exploration into history's most fascinating figures. See you next time.